Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Growing Up as Overrated podcast. My name is T, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Jen. As children, we believe everything should be fair. But as we grow older, we realize that just isn't the case. There are many aspects in life that we can't control, and it can lead to a sense of anxiety and helplessness. But how can we cope with this, and what do Jen and I do when faced with these situations? Now, into the podcast. Hello, Jen. How are you this week?
Oh, I'm good. Just going through life, working, sleeping, eating.
Yeah. Living the adult life. Ooh.
Nah, boo. Living the adult pandemic life.
I'm gonna be real. I only half lived adult life this week.
Oh, really?
I mean, I did did interviews and stuff, but I definitely felt like I was very low energy, so I was like, I just need to give myself a break, and I'm gonna terraform my whole island because
Nice.
why not? Because coping mechanisms.
Yeah,
Rebuilding my
seriously.
whole island, it's totally fine. We're gonna leave it at that so that we don't annoy everyone with Animal Crossing, but
No, I get it though. Like this week was rough.
Yeah.
And I slept so much this week.
Yeah.
Got so much sleep.
Well,
But yeah, rough times.
it hit me that I'm pretty sure this week marks 1 year of the World Health Organization declaring a worldwide pandemic.
Yes, it
And
is.
so I
It's the 1
think
year anniversary.
I think maybe that might have been a lot of it. Is just like just realizing, holy cow, I've been basically at home for a year. But
Yeah, I haven't left my state in a year.
oh
And
my
I live in
God,
a
yeah.
small state.
Yeah. I was gonna go to the East Coast and to the beach and everything, and as somebody who has grown up in a landlocked state, I was really looking forward to that, but it's okay. We're gonna be moving forward. And the pandemic really does actually nicely go into what we're kind of about to talk about, but just we can't control everything that happens in our lives, right? And that's been the pandemic has been a major eye opener for that for a lot of people, and if not everyone.
Yeah. It's amazing how much this situation has affected everybody's lives, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Right.
Um, you can't change anything. You just have to change your life,
Right.
but you can't make the world better. The world's just gotta sort itself out.
Yeah, that's like a really high level thing of like you can't do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do.
Mhm.
Whether that be uh slightly reducing your plastic use or your carbon emissions in general, or calling out racism when you see it, just or giving a homeless person a blanket or something, like like any little thing that you can do in the world. And I think that's why community service is actually a really great way to kind of get over the sense of like I can't control anything. Like the world's getting away from me, but like when you start giving to other people and taking care of others, like it can really give you a sense of like we're kind of all in this together, and the comforting sense that your life is actually quite small. you know
Yeah, exactly, and when talking about life, I feel like when you're a kid, a lot of the media you consume drills into your head this idea of fairness.
Yeah.
You know, an eye for an eye. If you do good things will happen to you. If you do bad things will happen to you, and you're in control. And we internalize that. And a lot of the time we are friends with some young people, and I often see that reflected in their worldviews. And that's a wonderful view to have. You know, do
Yeah.
good things. You always want to be doing good things.
Yeah.
But just because you do good things doesn't necessarily mean good things will happen to you and things will work out.
Yeah.
That's just not the way that the world really works. And that's a harsh lesson to learn
Yeah, like
as you grow up.
bad things happen to good people.
Mhm.
um, and good things happen to bad people, but they're not necessarily correlated, right? Like sometimes
No.
you do great things and you get great payback for that. But um other times that's just definitely not the case.
Yeah, sometimes you put in a lot of effort and you do a lot of good and nothing comes out of it. And you have to take satisfaction in what you do
Right.
and not the reward that you supposedly get out of it. And so it just involves dealing with things that you can't necessarily change as well. Because actions that you do, you have full control over, but you can't control everybody else.
Right.
Everybody else has their own brain and they do their own thing.
Yeah.
And you have to
Yeah.
learn to deal with that.
Yeah, that's actually a really core concept in a lot of work that like psychologists and therapists will do with people who struggle with anxiety is focus on what you can control, right? Like you can't control how a family member is going to react to you saying something, right? But you can control how you then in turn react to them. It might be difficult
Mhm.
because you have a lot of emotions to deal with, but the more you can slow down and take the time to like really recognize um, what control you do have in the situation and what you can't change. I think the smarter your interactions become when dealing with conflict or just any sort of situation that like you feel is really going out of control, right? Because anxiety is a sense of loss of control, right? So, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, this rolls back to like lessons that you're taught in shows. You know, he started it,
Mm.
you know, like just because somebody starts something doesn't mean you have to finish it.
My oh my gosh, my parents would say that all the time. Like I'd go, he started it, and my parents would be like, well, I'm ending it, or like it doesn't mean you have to, you have to, do anything to it. Like just walk away. Because my brothers would always poke at me and be like, trying to get my goat, if you will. And like they would always just say like, just walk away. Like they want the reaction, just walk away.
Mhm, and that really
It
works.
does.
Um, and a lot of people don't like that because it feels like they're just taking a bunch of punches and they're not, like, punching back.
Right.
Um, but that's the most effective, is that you control you, you
Mm-hmm.
can't control them.
Yeah.
And but, like, just dealing in general with, like, parents and family. You can't control who your family is.
Correct.
I mean, in some sense you can, like, I don't wanna dismiss, found families and,
Sure, sure, sure.
all that stuff, like, you can pick your family, but there are a lot of aspects about them that you just are out of your hands. You
Yeah,
can't
you can't.
control how your mother reacts to things at the holidays.
Right.
You can't control what grandpa says at the Thanksgiving table that's embarrassing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
those are completely out of your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, like you are born into a situation. However that is, either you're with your birth parents or you're in a different situation. Um, you are given the family structure that you are. Um, and I think as you grow older, um, like it's a very natural thing to see teens start to grow away from their inner circle family, like their home family, and start to reach out more to friends and friends' families, um,
Mhm.
to try to get kind of a more desired family situation in a sense. Like, for example, um, I call them my adopted family. Not that, like I do love my family, like my birth family, but there was a lot of turmoil that happened when I was you know, a teen, and so I knew that my best friend's house was going to be calm. Um and we were going to have productive conversations, and I would find comfort and safety and all of those things, right? And certainty. Um, and so in a sense, I chose to spend more time with those people, um, which I think really positively impacted my development at that time. And
Mhm.
so like that's that's why, even though it's so cliche, but like your friends are the family that you choose, right? Like
Mhm.
you can
Absolutely.
choose your friends. You can't necessarily choose when you meet them, you know, but y- like I don't know, like once you meet people who are just like they just fit and they get you, like that's your tribe, like you pick them as your family. Like there's something so strong and special about that. Um I can just feel the like the happy tears kind of welling up like speaking about this, but it's just that's a very special thing that you can control, you know.
Absolutely. And, like, not to suddenly bring this down to a downer,
No.
from that, but yes, you can choose your friends, but those friends are still independent
Yes,
actors.
they are.
And sometimes, like, you think that you have this great relationship, you get each other, but something may happen in their
Mm.
life, or maybe you change. Something changes, and
Yeah.
relationships have a natural progression that you sometimes just cannot control.
Yeah.
And that means that it's out of your hands. You can
Mhm.
try to remain friends with people, always be kind, always reach out, just be there for the other person. But if
Mhm.
they decide that it's over, then it's over.
Yeah.
And don't you can't dwell on that too hard,
Mhm.
because you have to be like, okay, this was a great relationship that I had, but it's over now and I need to move on, and I can't
Yeah.
wish for it to come back.
Yeah, I've
And
heard
that's
a
just hard.
it is hard. I've heard a lot of people talk about how just because a friendship might turn toxic, or it might just, not be working out anymore, you grow different ways or whatever, maybe like it doesn't mean that there's necessarily something wrong with you or them, right? Like you don't need to demonize anybody in the relationship. Um but there is a sense of like you I forgot what I was saying.
All right, well, I'll jump in here. Yeah, relationships can turn ugly, like you said. I had a particularly bad relationship with a roommate in college, and I dwelled on that for months. Like, it
Hmm.
basically effed up my brain for the whole second semester of sophomore year.
Yeah.
Because she just up and left in January, like, left school and
Oh.
moved back home. And it just, like, I kept thinking, like, was it my fault? Could I have done something differently? Was I actually a nice person? All those things. And, like, looking
Mhm.
back, and I'm like, why did I spend so much time worrying about this? Like, it was
Mhm.
over. It was done. Like, she
Yeah.
was clearly wasn't going to be my friend anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, she was totally within her rights to leave
Right.
and go back home, and I shouldn't have let it bother me as much as I did. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a year and a half of friendship investment, that was down the tubes, but, it just like, looking back, I'm like, that was a really dumb way to spend my time. I couldn't control what happened there,
Yeah.
and the relationship just fell apart.
Well, that's
It happens.
yeah, like that reminds me of something that you say sometimes, is like just because you've put this much time into a relationship doesn't mean that that was wasted time. Like it's it's an investment that sometimes you just have to cut your losses.
Mhm.
And not every relationship is going to become a lifelong relationship. Like there are sometimes are just finite times in which that person is meant to be in your life and you're meant to be in their life, and then you no longer, like, you finished what you guys needed out of each other, and then you move on. And that sounds a little transactional, but it's actually, I don't know, it is and it isn't.
It is transactional.
Like, it is, but it's
Like,
just
you know
like,
why it's transactional? Because I heard that piece of advice on an economy podcast,
I
but
love,
it really stuck
yes,
with me.
yes,
I
but
I heard about that on Planet Money from NPR, great podcast. But it was a great piece of advice because so many people get wrapped up in that, especially with romantic relationships,
yeah,
where people are like, "We've been together for 7 years." It's like, okay, it doesn't matter how
yeah,
long you've been together with this person. If it's not working right now, then it's not working. and
yeah,
and it doesn't matter if you met them last week or if you met them 7 years ago.
right,
Like, it's not working,
right,
and the relationship needs to end, and you need to cut your losses.
right.
That's called a sunk cost for my economy nerds out there. It's a sunk cost, all that time that you've put in. It's already
Yeah,
over. You
yeah,
can't get it back.
yeah, but like, I don't know, it's okay, and it doesn't. I think that's what I was trying to get at earlier was, you just because it was a toxic situation at the end, or it didn't work out forever, doesn't mean that there's necessarily something wrong with you or with them. And you really, sometimes it does mean there's some self-reflection to happen, right? But other
Mhm.
times it's just the natural course of life and relationships, and they're ebbing
Exactly.
and flowing. And like, I always like to think of life as the ocean. Like, you're a seashell on the coast, and sometimes the tide is higher, and you feel like you're drowning, or like, you kind of just have to take each wave of life as it comes to you. And the more I embrace this mentality, the more accepting I become of my changing circumstances.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously, I don't know what it's like to live in any other era except for right now, where there is constant change. Like, I don't know, if humans have always really dealt with as much change as we are right now, if that makes sense. But
Mhm.
we are constantly, especially as millennials, dealing with so much change. And in our 20s, in our early adulthood, we're just bombarded with constant changes. Um, and it's hard to feel like you have any sense of control of what's happening. Like, you feel like you're just being absolutely knocked over on, like, constantly by the waves.
Yes, I feel that entirely. Just all the change that there are. Like, right now I've started this new job, and I feel like I am hitting my quarter life crisis early. Um,
I'm gonna
it's
be
not
I'm gonna be real with you. Quarter life crisis happens continuously between 22 and upwards of 28.
Oh, great, fantastic. Um, but I feel like I am on this precipice of looking out at the rest of my life and being like, "Oh my goodness, like, I'm going to spend, like, 80% of my time working for, like, the next, like, 50 years." 40 maybe, like, if I'm being, like, more generous. Like, and that, like, gives me so much anxiety. I'm like, I have no control over my life and what I'm doing with it and where I'm going. It feels like it is all out of my hands at the moment. And that's not entirely true.
No, it's not.
Like, I do have control over my life, but in terms of like the overall structure of life, working, paying rent, buying a house, all those things, it feels very like I'm on this railroad tracks and I'm moving forward and I don't know how to get off the railroad. I don't know if
Oh,
I want to be here anymore. Like that kind of
yeah.
mentality.
My dad and I call that the conveyor belt of life. Um, and
That's a good word.
it's essentially like if you think of yourself as like a little toy, like a little doll on a manufacturing conveyor belt. Like their society's expectations of you says, all right, you're now at this point in production at age 23, you're gonna get your first job. you're and then here you are in stage 24, you're gonna get married, and then here at stage 25, you're gonna buy a house and have a kid, and so it's just like if you think of your ages as those are your benchmarks that society tells you you have to do this by this age or you're just a loser. And none of that's true. But getting wrapped up in that and trying to keep up with that gives you a sense of loss of control in life, right? So
Mhm.
like the older I get and the more I recognize this, the more I feel the need to reject it. Even though a lot of those things are things that I want, right? Like you know, I want a family, I want marriage and all of that traditional stuff, but I also, um, you know, recognize that I can't put that pressure on myself because my life is going to go at the pace that it's going to go. And so it's a very youthful mindset to be like, go, 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 push, try to grow up as fast as you can. But what's the rush? Like, you're rushing, and the end is not to be like super morbid, but it's death. So why are you rushing to try to get everything as fast as you can? It's not life is not a speed run.
Not to be meta, but growing up is overrated.
She said the thing.
I said the thing.
But, it's just it it's the sense of you get this from a very young age where you're going, I need to push forward. Um I need to go to college. I need to go to high school. I went backwards with that, but like you're just like, what's the next step? What's the next step? And then you get in this destination chasing, which is
Mhm.
so toxic. And you and I both struggle with this.
Oh, I
But I
hate
feel
this. I
like
hate this so much.
I'm further along on my journey to reject it than you are. But um, but that's just because I'm older than you. But like, um,
Well,
it's
it's hard to like my personal struggle with destination chasing is that I struggle between destination chasing and goal setting. Cuz I want to have goals in my life,
sure.
but I don't want to feel like I'm constantly chasing something that I never actually achieve.
Yeah,
Like once I get a goal and then I suddenly start racing towards the next one. Um that's what I struggle with cuz
right.
I do have things that I want to do in my life.
Yeah,
Um but like how to get there
right.
without constantly feeling pressure to push myself there all the time
Mhm.
is what's hard.
Right. Yeah, I've had a lot of like little stints of time where I've focused on this and done really well and felt really great about it, but it's hard to implement constantly. But my greatest bit of advice for recovery from destination chasing and like with that relationship with goal setting, right? Like it's great to have goals and dreams, right?
Mhm.
Aspirations. However, you don't want to be constantly just saying that big goal, right? You want to enjoy the path to the goal because once you get that goal, it's satisfying, but it's not as satisfying as like you getting the work done every day today, right? So the more you can focus on what you're doing in the moment, and this is where mindfulness training comes into play. And micro goal setting. So, what are you going to do today what little thing can you do today to add to your progress? You know, I'm adding a penny to my piggy bank of, you know, um, of my eventual dream to have this. Like you, you know, so maybe you're trying to do strength training. Um, so you make a big goal of, I want to enter a competition for, you know, lifting heavy weights, you know? And
Okay,
so
sure.
I don't know. It's not a great example, I guess, but, you know, so, or,
I get your
oh,
meaning
here,
though.
you're, okay, how about this one? You're writing a book. You want to write a book. You want to publish it? So every day, instead of saying, I'm going to write this book, dang it, then you just say, I'm going to write a page, or I'm going to come up with a character to, you know, or like, you know,
Mhm.
just something smaller, and making it a small attainable goal daily and enjoying your daily routine in that is way more beneficial to you than just saying, "Oh my
Than
gosh,
just focusing on
I
the
need
big goal.
the deadline." Yeah. Like doing little things like that is way better for your brain than constantly chasing after the golden carrot.
Yes, that is that's good advice, and I should stick to that because, like, my next big, big, big goal is moving out.
Yes. Same.
That is the thing that I want to be doing, and I should start splitting that into smaller goals, to try to achieve it
Yeah, so that's
or
like
feel like I am achieving it.
that's, you know, looking for apartments. You know,
Oh, my favorite thing.
yeah. Actually talking to, you know, agents.
Ooh,
um,
that is not my favorite thing.
you know, like uh, you know, budgeting your furniture. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
all
like
that.
making budgets and stuff. Like these are all little things we can do today, right, to go towards that next goal. But really taking time to relish what you're doing in the moment really helps with that feeling of like things are getting away from me.
Yes, like things are getting away from me is just like such an easy trap to fall into. Like if we're even like extending this to just think about s- societal norms, like things that people do all the time
Uh-huh.
that you can't control. You can't control what other people think about you.
Yeah.
Like you can't control what you're expected to do, what you're expected to say, what you're expected to look like. Like those things you can't deal with, but you can deal with you. And you can do those things however you want to do them,
Mhm.
as long as you're not hurting other people. Just saying.
Yeah. No infringing on other people's rights.
Not allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, like yeah, you can't control, you know, beauty standards or what people expect of you, but you can change what you expect of yourself. Um and you know, you and I again are also we are both people who are really hard on ourselves. And that is something we're both working on, but it's really challenging because it it can be a really great like pusher, but it can also be a detrimental thing. Like it can be both a positive attribute and a negative attribute.
Mhm.
You know, kind of that
When you have such
perfectionist
high
thing.
Yeah, when you have such high expectations of yourself, you do good things,
Right.
but you also feel awful when you're not doing good things
Yeah.
or when you feel like you could be doing better. And somehow every single little thing that you're not doing right is a gigantic failure.
Right. And you know, it's catastrophizing something that doesn't need to be catastrophized. You know,
Mhm.
like feeling bad for taking time off to really focus on my mental health. That's really hard for me, but I know that I need to do it. And
Mhm.
so taking care of myself is just as much of a an accomplishment. I've been trying to reframe it more as an accomplishment instead of saying like, oh my gosh, you're being so lazy. Like, I remember one time my senior year of college, I was so stressed out. I had so much work to do, but I like could not for the life of me focus. And so I like grabbed something from the cafe and I sat on like there's these little like cylindrical button rocks things.
Mhm.
And I just sat on it and like watched the birds and watched people while I was eating. And I just felt everybody saying, like in my mind, they were saying in their heads, like, oh my gosh, that girl should be working. Like, what is she doing just sitting there? Like, she's literally doing nothing. What a psychopath. She's not even looking at her phone. Like, like, and so that's just anxiety brain going, oh my gosh, like, you need to be doing something. Why aren't you doing something right now? And
Mhm.
everybody's looking at you and like, you're so important.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah,
it's,
that's the other thing is, like, when you feel like you have no control, sometimes you put and you have expectations of yourself, sometimes you put those expectations on others,
mm-hmm,
and you read into what they think about you,
mm-hmm,
when when that might not even be what they're thinking.
right,
Like I was talking to you about this yesterday when I was, like, reading an email at work,
mm-hmm,
and I read it in, like, a tone that sounded like they were upset with me,
right,
but then, like, you're like, "Read it again."
yeah,
Like, and I read it again, and I was like, "Oh, yeah," like, if I don't add on the tone on top of this email, like, it just sounds like an email.
right. It's just
It
business. It's
doesn't
just a
yeah,
transaction. They're just,
yeah, it doesn't sound like they're criticizing me unless I make it sound like they're criticizing me in my head.
right.
Uh,
And, so what if they are? Like, you're doing what you can and you can't control, you know, what their opinion of you is. You can just do your best. And if your best isn't good enough for them, then whatever, they need you, so they
they can
can
fire
shut
me.
up. Yeah, like whatever, like, then it's not a good match, like, and just
Yeah.
in the end, I think it's really just important to take things into perspective and really um accept what you can and can't control. Um and
And work with what you can,
work with what you can,
and
right.
use what you can control to make your life better.
Right.
Like, even little things. Like, I mentioned that I've been getting a lot of sleep, which is true because I've been stressed and work makes me sleepy.
But you need it.
But, like, yeah, I decided, like, to sleep more.
Yeah.
I decided to go to bed earlier, even though I like staying up in the evening and talking with friends and doing fun things. Like, I decided that it is better for my health to get more sleep.
Right. And your
Just
sanity,
taking
honestly.
yeah, that too. But it's just, like, you have to take the decisions that you can make your life better.
Right.
I was like, "Okay, I am tired at work and it's very stressful for me. What can I do to make that better? I can sleep. I can
Yeah.
make sure that I have enough rest to actually take on the day and not be worried about getting enough sleep."
Right.
Simple changes.
Yeah, simple changes, baby steps, like that's always my biggest advice for pretty much everything. Like I've stuck by my senior quote from high school for my entire life since then. Like that balance is the key to everything, right? Like if you're struggling with something, you're not balanced. Like you've gone one way or the other too far on the balance beam or on the balance beam? No, on the teeter totter. I don't know. The ways and balances.
The
Like
something.
yeah, the weighing thing. You've gotten too far one way or the other, and
Scale.
scale. Oh my god. Anyway, but you've gone one way too far, right? If you're sleeping all the time and you're depressed, you know, maybe you need to take some baby steps towards getting that figured out so that you can like, maybe actually get dressed that day and take a shower or, like whatever that baby step is for you to go more towards living the life that you want. Like that's
Mhm.
great. But if you're also on the other end of that spectrum where you're constantly doing everything and you're always amped up and you're always anxious and stressed, you need to make yourself take a break, you know?
Seriously.
So Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think that just about wraps up our conversation. So why don't we move into our silver linings segment this week? So T, what have you been up to this week that has been making you happy?
Well, on the topic of mindfulness, I have been putting extra care into my plants this week. I've been kind of haphazardly taking care of them for a few weeks, like just keeping them alive, and not really doing everything I need to do to make them thrive. So this week I really focused on giving them all the care that they need so that when spring is truly in session here and we're not buried under 2 feet of snow, 3 feet of snow, it literally just started
Oh
snowing.
dear.
But then they're gonna be really happy with me and they're gonna bloom and be really pretty. I don't know, I never thought that taking care of plants would give me as much joy as it does, but it really zens me out and makes me just feel really happy,
Yeah, like taking care of living things like that can really like bring a joy because you put in effort and you see the effort back.
Yeah, so
very rewarding.
What's making you happy this week, Jen?
Well, I have had a very, very stressful week, as I have mentioned. So one thing that I've been doing is I've been rewatching childhood cartoons because I love myself a good cartoon. And sometimes it's really fun to go back to simplified storylines, good guys versus bad guys, and not have it be too complicated.
Nostalgia is really good medicine, I think.
Yeah, I might indulge a little too much in that medicine, but
that's okay.
But it is very nice and rewarding, and I am having a lot of fun. So
good.
Fun's good. Fun is good.
Fun
and
is
I
good.
approve.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to this week's episode. You can find new episodes every other Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, we can be found at @guio.pod. Please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We hope you'll continue to listen to us, talk about our lives, and hopefully learn something about yourself too. And remember, growing up is overrated.